So this session for vector, vector is starting from class 11 officially, but those who are doing foundation, they are taking the exposure from class 9 or 10. Okay, but anyway, whenever you are going to start vector, right? So few things are very basic, and if you culture those things multiple time, definitely it will always help you about the full range of vector, what actually you are going to do with the vectors, right? So vector is having directions and magnitude. We all know that. Now vector may be 1D, 2D, 3D, like one dimension vectors, one directions, two dimension vector. Here you can see 2D vector, two dimension, and three dimension vector. So one dimension vector means there is a motion maybe in x axis or y axis, z axis, or in a straight line. Or two dimension means we are engaging two axes, either x and y or z and x. Now 3D vector, three dimension means we are presenting an object with the three coordinate. Now relation between vector and coordinate geometry. You know the coordinate geometry which we are starting in class 9. Coordinate geometry, we are pointing an object with x and y for two dimension, and for three dimension x, y, z. So this is very important and very closely linked with the vectors. Like I'll show you in the board how we are presenting a vector. Those things are very important, and because ultimately in vector you have to do some numericals, maybe in your board and maybe in your in the entrance exam, or you are planning for physics honors or research line. Ultimately you have to deal with the vectors algebra. Okay, and that vector algebra initial class 11 we have a chapter, and more details we have in class 12 mathematics, vector algebra. So vector, we will be doing some operations like algebraic operation. Vector product. Vector having two type of product, the dot product and cross product. Dot product giving the scalar output, and the cross product of vectors giving the vector output. And lots of real life examples we have in different phase by phase. You'll go through that. So basic things you have to know how to do the vector multiplication, like vector product. That's very important. How to calculate the angle between two vector, how to prove that two vectors are parallel, two vectors are in perpendicular. Those things you have to prove. You have to know it very well. And like earlier that work done is equal to force into displacement. Now force is a vector quantity, displacement is a vector quantity. So you will get a vector presentation of force and displacement. Then you will be asked for calculate the work done. This is the difference in class 11. And if you are going for JEE main at least, so this kind of things will come, like vector product. Okay, I'll just show you some brief on it so that you can start from here. Okay, so let me first show in the screen the vector one, then I'll go to the board. Okay, yeah, just give me a minute. Yeah, so we are here now. If you see here the vector, what we are seeing, this is a vector. Okay, let's say a vector. A vector is there. It's having an x component ax, y component yx, ay. So these things is kind of some process you have to follow. Ax presenting the x component. Now the new things, like for you, the resolution of vector, what it? So vector having their existence in multi directions. Here the a vector exist in x-axis and y-axis, and they are independent. They are not dependent. They are not interfering with each other. The proof is the example is the projectile motions. When we consider the projectile motions, what happen? That the range when you are throwing an object like this, it is having the vertical motion and the horizontal motion, right? So sailing is happen in the war zone. So whenever some sailing is going, so the target location they have to reach. So they are decided by this angle theta. Is they are going to increase the range or they are going to increase the height of the motion, right? So the vertical is determined by the AY component and the horizontal will be determined by the AX component. They are not interfering each other, they are independent. This happen in projectile motion. Okay, so here you see that horizontal component of AX is equal to A cos theta, vertical component of AY is equal to A sin theta. And this is the magnitude, the resultant vector, AX square plus AY square. So this I am showing for 2D. Now let's say 3D vector. Okay, it's not a 3D, so it's only a 3D vector. But yes, you'll get some 3D effect here. Okay, so how does a vector looks? A vector means AX I cap, AY j cap and AZ k cap. This is a vector presentation, standard vector presentation. Okay. Now let's say I have one more vector, B vector. So it will be Bx I cap, By j cap and Bz k cap. These are the standard vector presentations. Get adapt with these things. Okay. So these are the magnitude, these are the direction. I cap is the unit vector along x axis. Okay, j cap is unit vector along y axis, k cap is unit vector along z axis. Now what is unit vector? Unit vector is that a vector with magnitude unit. Let's say a vector, unit vector of a vector is vector a divided by magnitude of a. This will be the unit vector of a vector in the same directions. Okay, now I'll close with a real example like dot product and cross product. So keep in mind the x and a y. So what will be the dot product? If I am taking a dot b, the output will be ax bx, ay by, then az bz. How does it came? Follow my next session, I'll show you. There is a magic like I dot I will be 1, j dot j is 1, k dot k is 1. So dot product of two vector is 1, but I dot j will be 0. When two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product will be 0. What is the reason? Now here you go. Now let's come to the actual point, the definition of dot product. Okay, a vector and b vector, a dot b vector, dot point is very important. A b cos theta. Output is a scalar quantity a b cos theta. You have to remember that. Now cos theta means angle between the vector a and b. Okay, if theta is 90, cos theta 0, the dot product 0. So if you have two vector, if you can show that the product of these two vectors is 0, so vectors are perpendicular. Okay, follow my next sessions. Please wait. By tomorrow I will be showing you the next sessions. Okay, follow my section on vector series. Okay, thanks for watching the session.